think I'm just going to dive right into this topic. The Project Management Institute, PMI, defines a project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. It defines project management as the application of knowledge, skills, and tools and techniques to project activities to meet a project's requirements. Interesting. So I'm going to read that one more time. It defines project management as the application, knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. I think it's supposed to be project. Anyway, these definitions sound reasonable, but I don't think of project management as a discrete discipline. Instead, project management involves managing many activities that in the aggregate lead to project success. These activities can be performed by a single individual, i.e. a project manager, a group or hierarchy of managers for a large initiative, or collaboratively by partitioning activities among people and multiple teams and multiple team members. So the first thing you have to consider when you're talking about individual activities that collectively constitute project management, you need to start by thinking of people management. No matter what you decide, projects are carried out by people. And I don't care whether it's an agile project, a waterfall project, a project is carried out by people. Ranging from a single individual to a small co-located team to a cast of hundreds working on multiple sub-projects in numerous locations around the world. Managing a project involves identifying what must be done and when, then determining the mix of skills needed to do it, identifying individuals that fill the various roles, and bringing it all in at the right time. Sounds easy, right? Once people are on board, they need to be led, compensated, fed, and perhaps trained. Occasionally, it might be necessary to replace certain individuals because their skills, performance, or fits of the team don't fit the work. That happens. Okay, let's get to the most important one. The most important one, in my opinion, is requirements management. All projects have requirements, and most requirements describe the product itself. Others describe related project work, such as developing training materials or transitioning to replace a system. Some projects launch with an already completed baseline set of requirements. On others, developing requirements is an ongoing part of the project work. For the latter, the team must have both people who are skilled in requirements activities and the time needed to do the requirements work. Adjusting plans to keep the team focused on delivering the necessary system capabilities and characteristics is a core project management activity. Let's talk about expectation management. An essential part of managing a project is to set a realistic expectation to stakeholders that understand and accept what you're trying to say. Those expectations include the property of the solution that the project team will deliver and the delivery parameters of how, when, and where it's going to be delivered. So it could include things like the schedule for an interim and final delivery, cost, quality, resources required, people required, limitations, scope, things the solution will or will not include. Frank discussions is what's necessary, and that's what helps ensure that the project participants know exactly what's going on and what's expected of them. Which facilities negotiating mutually acceptable and achievable commitments. Okay, so yeah, so if you're trying to facilitate, a mutual commitment by a team, you need to make sure you outline what's going on. How about task management? Delivering task management or delivering the expected value for the project requires that many tasks be completed correctly and in the right sequence. Some tasks can't begin or complete until others are begun or completed. Participants need to identify tasks at an appropriate level of granularity, allocate people to each task, and roll up the sets of tasks into milestones that will show progress at defined checkpoints. Then there's commitment management. Project managers make commitments to their customers, their own managers, and their team members. Similarly, those other participants make commitments to other project managers and one another. Commitments often are based on estimates, which have an intrinsic uncertainty. As one experienced project manager pointed out, estimates are nowhere near actuals, and they're nowhere near actuals, and they're not actuals in advance. So it's not like you're getting to cash in on an actual in advance. Everyone should make commitments in good faith based on the best available information. They should track progress towards those commitments, honestly adjust them as realities change, and take action when a commitment is fulfilled. Okay, what about risk management? All projects contain unknown risks, and they have some just known risks. Risk management is a vital success factor. Anticipating potential risks, assessing their likely impact on a large project, controlling them to the greatest extent possible, Failure to manage risk activity is an invitation to let the resultant problem surprise and perhaps completely derail a project. The project manager is focused on enabling success, but they also have to keep their eye on a trouble ahead. Risk management is worrying about the what ifs before they become what do we do now? Okay. How about communications management? Communication is the core of project management. Projects generate information regarding status, issues, resource expenditures and needs, changes, expectations, and the like. Project management encompasses acquiring this information, storing it appropriately, and sharing it with the right people at the right time. Large projects that involve multiple teams in numerous locations, sometimes speaking different languages and with diverse cultures and communication preferences, pose particular communication challenges. What about change management? It's safe to assume the project's final product won't be precisely what people anticipated on the outset. The project manager must cope with the change in requirements, priorities, resources, technologies, people, processes, and regulations. Each team should establish mechanisms at the beginning to help them anticipate and accommodate change with as little disruption as possible. Agile approaches are explicitly structured to accommodate change, welcoming new requirements and dynamically adjusting the backlog of the remaining work to ensure that the team is always working on the top priority activities. Then there's people management or resource management. I never like to hear managers refer to humans as resources, but people are what constitute the largest and the most costly resource on most software projects. Besides assembling the right staff, managers need to provide physical facilities, computer systems, communication infrastructures, testing laboratories, access privileges for contractors. Managing a project's budget is another critical activity. I find it useful to separate staff budget from resource budgets, but using funds in creative ways beyond hiring team members is just part of a project manager's challenge. They need to balance features, quality, staff, schedule, and cost. Oh yeah, let's not forget about dependency management. Many projects have dependencies on outside factors that are beyond the control of the people involved. They might be awaiting delivery of software or hardware components from a third-party vendor before they can proceed. One project that built a new printer was delayed because the international standard for new hardware interface protocol was not yet finalized. Tasks and activities can also have internal dependencies within a project. A project manager must identify such dependencies, incorporate the appropriate lead times for the project schedule, monitor status to see if any dependency will be fulfilled, and it's a good idea also to create contingency plans in case a dependency fails or falls apart. Oh, I almost forgot about contractor management or contract management. Contracts constitute a legally binding agreement among all parties. Not all projects require formal contracts. However, for those who do, someone must attentively manage those projects. Failing to deliver on a contract can have significant consequences. A developing organization might have contracts with customers, vendors of goods, and subcontractors who are performing portions of the project work. Contracts should include details as to who will pay for customer-related scope changes, and consequences for failing to meet contractual commitments or deadlines. Even on projects with no formal contracts, agreements reached among the participants imply some level of contract. These tacit contracts can be more difficult and critical to manage, simply because they're not explicitly negotiated and documented. It would be unwise for a project manager to ignore implicit agreements, expectations, or commitments simply because, we don't have a written contract. It doesn't need to be written for it to be, an implied contract. Yes. Okay. What about supplier management? I almost forgot. Software projects often involve outsourcing. The entire body of development work could be outsourced to a third-party company, possibly even offshore. Some projects outsource only certain activities, such as system testing. Building partnerships with these suppliers involves establishing contractual agreements, communication mechanisms, common tools, quality expectations, and dispute resolution policies. Third-party suppliers make arrangements and introduce risks and dependencies over the course of the project, which the project manager may have little influence but still needs to be aware of and control. Oh, and I almost forgot. They need to manage away the barriers. Based on a lengthy list of subdisciplines, managing a project clearly is extensive and challenging for any sizable initiative, but the people responsible for each project's success should assess with which of these domains apply to their project and ensure that they have the appropriate experience, skills, and time available, either themselves or in other team members. Now, you do have to keep in mind that most project managers never do this for just one project or one product. They're usually doing this for multiple products or projects at the same time and being asked to allocate teams or people across these projects based on their skill set, based on the work that's going to be available. So it's pretty easy. I mean, what I'm looking at here is to be a successful product or project manager, all you need to be able to do is manage away the barriers, understand and correlate supplier management, understand contracts and contractual management, and make sure it stays legally enforceable. Manage and govern dependencies, manage resources, money, time, talents, people, etc. Understand change management and deal with change management as it occurs, even if that means implementing agile practices. Understand communication management, risk management, commitment management, task management, expectation management, requirements management, and of course, the big one at the beginning was people management. And I just don't see why every project manager is not incredibly successful and able to do this across multiple projects at any given time. I think my throat is dry just from reading that list. This was an article, obviously, by a gentleman named Carl. Carl, I appreciate your article. I'll go ahead and drop a link to it online. But, it just goes to show you that if you think, oh my goodness, why are people doing Agile? Why can't we just do traditional project management? Or what about Agile project managers? There are certain facets of what I just now said that are creeping their way into Agile. So it's just something that you have to keep in mind. Agile's always going to have pieces of this, but the biggest difference with an Agile implementation is that you are going to be incorporating many of the things that were in this list, right? But it'll be handled by different people. So that way you're breaking down who's doing what. So instead of having one person, it's the sole person responsible for doing all that for all those different pieces, you now have multiple people who can take on the bounty of those tasks. That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a question, comment, or concern, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.